Show me.
The contrast between heroes and villains helps in every medium of storytelling. The best books have inspiring heroes and well-rounded villains. The best video games have epic heroes and villains we just can't wait to defeat. The best action films have protagonists that you cheer on and villains that you root against. And maybe even just a little bit root for. Martial arts movies fall under this rule as well. Now, I know that videos about action movie villains are like assholes. You know, there's a lot of them. Some of them are kind of shitty. But mine has Jackie Chan in it. My video has Jackie Chan in it, not my... I've found that not every movie has to have the perfect balance of hero and villain to be a minimum of acceptable. Some movies have a fantastic hero and a terrible villain. Some have a boring protagonist and an exhilarating bad guy. And on that rare occasion, there are gems with the perfect combination of awesome hero and dope villain. So what are the results of these movies? And what are movies that fall into these categories? Oh, and I should mention that there are sometimes movies where the hero is blah and the bad guy is meh. There's not a lot of them, but there are some that come to mind. Out for Justice, Above the Law, absolutely just dreadful. Just had to get some Steven Seagal digs out of the way so I can jump in to movies that fall into these categories. Movies with great villains, bad heroes, movies with great villains, bad heroes, and movies that we appreciate where both the bad guy, the villain, the people on both ends of this spectrum, this balance beam, are just wonderful. Movies with good heroes and boring villains are usually still pretty damn good. Seeing as we're following the hero through his journey, as long as we spend a majority of our time hanging out with a really cool person, then that's an entertaining movie. But what makes an entertaining, charismatic hero? Our hero can be an unstoppable badass, dishing out skills that destroy every opponent put in front of them. See Tony Jaa in Ong Bak and The Protector. His Muay Thai abilities practically put Muay Thai on the action world stage, and watching him destroy his opponents that don't stand a chance is exhilarating. And seeing him do crazy stunts with no wires or special effects makes for some of the most exciting scenes in all of film. Jean-Claude Van Damme's Lionheart is a major standout of his filmography, and that's because seeing JCVD just kick people in the face all the time is always fun. Then there are characters who are awesome for their character and not just their action. The Undisputed series' Yuri Boyka is one of the best martial arts characters in recent years. Seeing Scott Adkins' famous Boyka prove that he is the most complete fighter in the world in Boyka Undisputed 4 is always awesome. But he's so popular because he's just so well written. He's complex in his violent passions and blatant anger issues, contrasting with his respect for the martial arts and religious background. Sometimes, though, you just get super charismatic actors who can hold a film down every single time. Of course, when I say this, just take a look over at Bruce Lee in The Big Boss. The Big Boss's villain is fine at best, but damn, Bruce Lee just has a screen presence that is like no other. These are films with boring and downright bland villains, although some of them have some dope henchmen. Steroid Guy in Ong Bak is a beast, because of all the steroids. However, despite the boring villains, we watch these movies for the leads. You put on a Tony Jaa movie to see Tony Jaa unveil stunning action. We as fans clamored for Undisputed 4 because we needed more Yuri Boyka in our lives. Who cares that the villain is just a guy in a suit? I want to see the most complete fighter in the world. Movies such as these give us a promise of being entertained by our heroes, and those promises are fulfilled. But what about movies that go the other way? Somehow there are movies where the hero that we are supposed to cheer for is just a black hole of charisma. Anytime they're on screen, we hope for a side character, a sidekick, someone to just step in and add some personality, some levity, and charm to the scene. And in some cases with those movies, we wait for the villain. A villain that just oozes personality and captivates an audience. Admittedly, I couldn't really think of many of these. I thought long and hard. I went through all my movies, my shelves, and I kept looking up and down, back and forth. What movie has a terrible, terrible hero and a wonderful protagonist? I was going through Instagram, people's martial arts pages. There's all the martial arts pages on Instagram, and I just really couldn't find that anything was there for me here. So I only have one example, but I don't feel bad about that because it's probably the best example. I've obviously not been shy about my disdain for Steven Seagal. I seldom discuss his movies on this channel. I talked about him earlier in the video. I don't like him. I don't like many of his movies. Above the Law and Out for Justice were dreadful, but those are movies with bad heroes and bad villains that makes for just an all-around bad movie. This movie, his best movie, has an excellent villain, and what makes it so good is because of that villain. It is, of course, Under Siege, his best movie. Now, Steven Seagal is, of course, a master of Aikido, and I've got some respect for that, sure, and as much as the Aikido practitioners may want to reinforce the practicality of Aikido, Steven Seagal fails to make it look entertaining on screen almost whatsoever, in my personal opinion. Lazy choreography aside, he is also just a charisma vacuum. The man, people, has he ever been able to really emote on screen almost whatsoever? Name 3 times. I'm sure he's done it at least once. Every actor has. But when Steven Seagal is not on screen, we of course have Gary Busey, but we also have Tommy Lee Jones as William Stranix. Just a ball of energy and personality that anytime he's on screen, you cannot look away. The movie simply would not work without William Stranix and his character. His mission, of course, is what drives the whole plot. Steven Seagal is just kind of there. But every time he talks, you listen. Every time he moves, you watch. I, of course, did not see Under Siege in theaters. I was not born yet, I believe, when the movie came out. So I'm watching it at home, and anytime Steven Seagal is on screen, it may be a decent action scene, but if it's just him talking, him walking around trying to get the mission done, whatever, he's just so bland. He does nothing. I'm staring at my phone like the millennial I am. But then, Tommy Lee Jones comes on screen, and as soon as he opens his mouth, I'm captivated, because he's a good actor. He's a wonderfully written character. I can't help but look and listen and watch the movie when he's there. Screw the Joker. Give me a movie all about William Stranix. What's his backstory? How did he get to where he is? How did he become the man he is today? The absolute terrible human being that I can't look away from. That is what makes the movie so entertaining, not the hero who drives me away. Of course, I want to see him brought down as the villain, but as I said before, there is, of course, that part of me that wants to see him get away with it. I know his mission is to kill thousands of people, but maybe just stop him and send him to prison. Don't kill him.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
Lastly, we of course have those surprising and perhaps even rare gems. We can all think of perfect blends of hero and villain in popular film, The Dark Knight, Die Hard, Black Panther, etc. But it exists in martial arts cinema as well. What makes an awesome villain in martial arts cinema is the same thing that makes an awesome hero. Some villains are memorable simply for being incredible fighters that you can't look away from. Villains that come to mind are Huang Ying-sik in Young Master and Dragon Lord. Jackie Chan is wonderful in both of those films, in both his action and his stunts, and Mars is there too, but when Huang Ying-sik starts kicking and starts beating ass, he's just the most entertaining person in the film. Huang Zhang Li in Drunken Master is much the same. Jackie Chan is plenty entertaining, and his master, their training sequences are all very fun, but when Huang Zhang Li, one of the very best kickers in all of Kung Fu cinema, starts dishing out beatings, he's just the best. Chuck Norris may not be the exact main villain in Way of the Dragon, but he is, of course, the final fight, and his clash with Bruce Lee is the reason we are all there. And I really want to throw Mad Dog on here, but I guess Tama is the villain and Mad Dog is just a henchman, but to be fair to him, he's maybe the greatest henchman in all of action film history. These are characters who are barely on screen, but when they show up, they captivate audiences with precise ferocity. They balance the scale of skill with their heroes, and in some cases even shift it in their favor before the hero can eventually train and get on their level. That helps create tension and entertainment, a far better film as we watch our heroes work harder to best their foes. No matter what, the final fight is always destined for greatness. On the other side of the villain coin, we have charismatic villains opposing our skilled heroes. We have the Blueprint, an absolute host with the most, Qian Shi in Enter the Dragon. Lance Henriksen in Hard Target, chewing scenery and making it look delicious. Yuri Boyka again in Undisputed 2, but this time, he's the villain. Undisputed 2 opens with Yuri Boyka in an incredible fight scene, and we see him fight more than the actual hero of the movie, showing that he is going to be probably the most credible foe we've ever seen in a martial arts movie. He is, of course, the most complete fighter in the world. But that scene in Undisputed 2, where he details the historic feats of different martial artists in history as he explains why he must never cheat to win, is inspiring. And he's the bad guy. These bad guys rarely come into contact with the hero, but it is through their attitudes of being complete assholes, scum of the earth, or just downright cocky that we need to see them taken down, even though there is that part of us that may want to see them come out on top. The final battle isn't always the most dramatic affair, and can often be one-sided, but as long as the hero comes out on top, and the villain gets a few licks in and verbal jabs, the movie tends to end on a very good note. But these are just a few examples in each of the three categories. There are far more movies, far more villains, and far more heroes to discuss in the comments, and really, it's far more a complex topic than just those three areas. As I brought up, there are films where just there's amazing henchmen that help back the bad guy. There's amazing sidekicks that help back the hero. So discuss those movies in the comment section down below. Discuss your favorite ones. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. What are your favorite movies that I discussed here today? Also talk about that stuff. Martial Arts Film Freak on Facebook, Martial Arts Film Freak on Instagram, Tristan_Glover on the Twitter, and Martial Arts Film Freak on TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.